Hey guys, this is Josh from Shizen Style. Today, want to talk about some modern small Japanese gardens. This is a video I made a few years ago in Nara Prefecture. They were having a Japanese garden festival. I originally posted this a while ago, and I think it took a little criticism because people were like, "This is not Japanese gardens." Um, it may not have fit their definition or their image of what a Japanese garden is, but I like to highlight this as possibly more modern Japanese gardens. I think it's a showcase of what some of these current garden designers are playing around with creatively. Um, Both, mixing traditional Japanese styles with more Western styles. If you'd like to sit back and watch this video, again, I have some of my shakuhachi music in the background. You can always turn that down if that bothers you. There's a lot of different styles. Some of them you might hate, some of them you might love, and hopefully you'll get a few ideas of something that you can incorporate into your garden. Afterwards, I'll pull out a few different examples and we can talk about some of the different techniques that might be interesting to try and play around with. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sure that you found some that you loved. Well, I'm sure you found some you didn't like, and hopefully you found some you liked. So I'd like to pull out a couple here, and we can talk about it. I can tell you what some of the things that I like about it. As always, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do so I can keep bringing you some of these different modern rustic home and garden type videos. We'll start with this one first because it's got my baby daughter in it. This piece here is quite interesting, I think, because I liked all of the hardscaping. Coming off the wall on the back, it looks like some dried wood, and that's actually a fountain that was sort of dripping off of the wood into what looks like a tsukubai type of stone that you would see in like a tea garden. Okay, this one was very modern. The fence in the background, I think, is pretty nice, and this is something that's doable. I think a lot of people could get this done, and this is probably done with a shosugiban charred cedar effect. It could be a stain as well, but you've got a very modern look, a lot of different rock colors going on, which is quite different. And it is actually a fountain that you can see from straight on. This side view gives you a little bit better idea of the angle that we're looking at. And bamboo for the seating. This type of almost like pastel color stone is often not used in Japanese gardens, but it's something that I think we're a lot more familiar with something like the Pennsylvania field stone or those type of tones. It lightens it up, it brightens the whole scene, and again they've blended a few different elements with the stone water basin and the almost the castle wall look with the rocks stood up next to each other there. So this garden here, I think, may have been hit and miss for people. It's got elements of a traditional garden. They were going for like the Tsukiyama mountains, the mountain range in the background, and then you also have the cloud pruning on the Japanese black pine, and that represents clouds in the distance. What they have in the foreground with all of the bright color is not typical of the Japanese garden, but they were obviously going for that effect. In the left corner you can see that they almost went for a very modern kobori enshu, almost checkerboard there. Mixing that modern element into it was clearly making a statement. The bamboo fencing in the back is also different. It's unique because it's straight on the one side, and then closer to the hills there, they also bumped up the bamboo there to create almost like the mountain range continuing in the fence. I thought that was pretty creative. I don't know if I've seen that before in other areas, but it would be interesting to play with, adding some of the waves to continue that mountain range into the fence. This garden here is, again, making use of some very different colors. The purples in the front, and then you have the orange in the background. I'm not opposed to it. I kind of do like how the flowers mix in there. They still have pruned trees. It's sort of hard to see here, but there's a pruned Japanese maple and a black pine in there with the boulders, which definitely stand out. The rock garden in the middle is a little different. It's a little confusing as to where you're supposed to walk. So is this supposed to just represent a stream or river? or are we supposed to walk along the side? It seems a little too narrow to walk. So that part's a little confusing to me. If they had made this an actual walkable, strolling garden through the middle, I think that might tie it together a little more. This is an interesting take on what you would actually find in a Japanese forest. Now, not the pillars in the background there. That's purely artistic and meant to most likely represent mountains. But the cedar and having all of the ground cover as the fallen cedar, the brown, really speaks to an image that you get from being in a Japanese forest. There's a lot of hinoki cypress throughout Japan. So I think this is something that they were trying to relate to people in some way. And at the same time, with the chopped cedar there and hollowed out, turned into a fountain. So that it's the blend of something that is familiar with sort of ultra creativity. It's quite interesting. And my daughter had a fun time playing in the water. You're seeing a lot more gardens that are actually usable and not just meant to be viewed, but are part of the home. Space is very limited in Japan, so more and more I think some of the designers are figuring out how to still have some type of garden, but it also has to have a functional space to it. Here's another creative one. It looks a little busy at times. They have a lot of structures, hardscaping with part of the lantern there. They've stacked, that's actually the kawara, the roof tiles. And then you actually have a stone wall, like a castle wall in the background, and a taller pagoda that you can see farther back. The mixtures of flowers up front and pruned Japanese red pine. Here's something that you don't see all the time. Bamboo is often not used in Japanese gardens, although it's very symbolic of Japan. So we want to put it in there, similar to cherry blossoms. But both of those two items you often don't find in traditional Japanese gardens. And in the case of the bamboo, a lot of it has to do with the pruning. But one of the issues with the bamboo in the garden is the spreading. It's too invasive to plant in a garden. The roots of the bamboo are going to take over. Okay, here's one that I did like. It's making use of a lot of different stones. And they really aim to create a landscape scene. You've got your sculpted pines, you've got your raked gravel, lantern in the back. The fence here is really wonderful. And what you can see there is there's a couple different kinds of gravel being used. Okay, this garden here, the stones are a little different. You've got pink stones going up through the middle of what would represent as the river, but they've kept the stepping stones over top. It really is a blend of sort of Western and Japanese styles. They've got the tree prunings in the background. Closer look though, you've got, I think it's a cosmos. It's a beloved flower in Japan, not traditionally seen in gardens. But then you've got like red grass and bark used as the ground cover. Wood chips and bark are something that you're starting to see a little bit more used in modern gardens in Japan, but traditionally it's been moss or even dirt. The last garden I wanted to show you was from one of the award winners, Furukawa Teijuen. And this is the landscape company and garden design company that I had studied at. And they created this scene, again, with the mulch and the wood chips highlighting, and they love Japanese red pine, as you can see here. So they wanted that type of creating that color as the dominant tone, which gives it almost like a woodland type feeling. And then again with a similar stain on the deck. They were aiming to create a garden that can both be appreciated as a viewing garden, but also a garden that you can be in and enjoy close up, which is sort of a different feeling than just the type of gardens that you only view from a distance or from a particular angle. The red pine here take a strange shape. If you see the trees naturally weathered along the coast, they tend to thin out and they're top heavy, and this is the type of form that they take on. And it might not look like it, but these have been, for years they've been pruned like this to get this type of effect. And you can see they've also played around with almost like a ikebana type of floral arrangement on the deck, encouraging people to be a part of the garden and to create a scene that people want to be in and enjoy. This really is the type of gardens that I've been drawn to, the kind that I start to consider a Shizen style garden. And by Shizen, I mean natural, but natural in a way that also incorporates human creativity mixed with nature, not just pure nature, and not overly maintained to such an artificial level that it becomes too philosophical. But that perfect blend of contemporary and natural is the type of garden that I'm really drawn to. So I hope you like some of these gardens. Might not like them all. That's good. Everybody has their own tastes. Maybe you picked up a few ideas or something, but if you'd like to, please subscribe, and you can check out more of my videos on blending modern rustic styles together for the home and garden, and also check out the website Shizen Style. Okay, thanks. Have a great day.